the next one, like kind of linking into the last one, is that
Yeah, it follows on.
yeah, the whole thing of carbs are bad, and I think that obviously links in with the keto diet as well.
Yeah.
And similar to what I said with 1 gram of carb holding roughly like 3 to 4 grams of water, the reason why people that go on the keto diet, so if you don't know what the keto diet is, it's you basically take all carbs out and you start your body running on fats and proteins, which mental, but that's what it is. So obviously when you cut out those carbs, your main scale loss is water, because you're cutting out, say if you had 100 grams of carbs, that's going to then hold 400 grams of water. So if you're cutting that out, within a couple of days, you're going to be 500 pounds lighter. 500 pounds, 500 grams, roughly, like, as a maths, like simple maths.
Yeah.
That's why your scale weight drops off a cliff very quickly, and then it basically plateaus again.
Yeah, I think that's why people do it, because they see those results so quickly. They're just like, oh my God, this diet's amazing. And you're like, it's all of your water just going.
Yeah.
But then because of that reason as well, you then start feeling extremely fatigued. You get things like brain fog, low energy, all sorts of hosts of different side effects that come with that diet, which is why I hope no PTs would recommend that diet. I know there's probably a fair few that do, but it's not something I would ever recommend to any of my clients, especially just in terms of kind of like functioning on a day-to-day basis. Never mind any of their like fat loss goals or anything like that, just being able to function on a day-to-day basis. And even like to be able to turn up to work and stuff like that, because you end up with such brain fog and you're so tired and exhausted. It's just, I don't understand how people can do it. It's maddening to me, because as well, like, obviously carbs is the fastest way to turn into glucose to use for energy. It's your body's preferred source of fuel, and it's also the only source of fuel your brain can run off, which is why you end up with brain fog, because your brain cannot run on fats and proteins. It can only run on glucose, and if you cut that out, you're starving your brain of food essentially on what it runs on. And I'm like, why would you do that? It sounds awful. And then they're like, why am I tired? Why do I feel like shit? Why can't I remember stuff? Like, why, like, they forget conversations that they've had, and it's like, because your brain has no food and it's trying to find some.
Yeah, there's also the keto flu that people tend to get about a couple of weeks to a month in. You end up like really ill, basically, again, because you're saying like you are just depleting your whole body of carbs and sugars that your body prefers to run on. So it's something, I guess. Say if you're in like combat sports where you need to make weight, if you're struggling to make that weight in the last weeks or something, probably a very good option to use to just basically deplete yourself of water. Because I've had friends that do MMA and they end up just sitting in saunas for like hours on end in trackies, sat in salt baths to drain all the water. So I can kind of understand where it might help in that sort of world. I'm not saying that's healthy by any means whatsoever.
No, it's not, no.
Yeah, I used to just tell them, I'm like, why don't you just hang around the sort of weight that you fight at, maybe a little bit higher, then you only have to cut a couple of pounds.
Yeah, and it's easy,
Yeah, but apparently that's not the way to do it. But
I mean, I think it would, the only time I would ever be like, yes, do the keto, if it's like recommended by a doctor or like a nutritionist or someone that actually knows what they're doing. But I think doctors only really recommend it for like epilepsy, and I think even then it's very extreme circumstances, and so they will still go through several assessments and stuff before they even recommend that as a diet option for somebody with epilepsy. Yeah,
I think Jordan Peterson and Michaela Peterson both went on like a carnivore diet for a while. They both had like an autoimmune disorder. I'm not too sure exactly what it was. I've seen little clips on Instagram and stuff, and they reckon that since they've been on that carnivore diet, the issues that they were having have pretty much disappeared. So I guess there are some uses.
That's the thing. I was like, because people are only doing it to lose weight, and it's just not the option. It's not the right decision to have made. Oh, I think you're frozen. Is this my internet? Oh dear.
Right.
When we got cut off.
I know. Right. So, to anyone listening that is wondering what happened there, my Mac decided to turn off and do an update whilst we were mid-podcast.
Good.
So, I think we were at the end of the keto part. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think we've got to the end of there. But yeah, to sum up, you can eat bread is the answer.
Pasta, pizza.
Yeah, again, as long as you're like within your calories, control it. You're not eating silly portions. Then have whatever you want.
Yeah.
And then another one, which I see a lot of. I think this one comes and goes sometimes, but it's that like 0-calorie drinks are really bad for you, and it's like it's full of chemicals. And I even saw somebody once, and it was very much a whole like Karen at the end of the street that's been on the internet for the first time in her life, and said that they destroy your kidneys and like give you cancer. I was like, oh, interesting. Where did you find that from?
There is actually, I've seen videos on this and someone's broke it down. So some of the ingredients that are in these 0-calorie drinks to replace the sugars and the flavours that would usually have calories in, there is evidence of excessive amounts causing like cancers and diabetes and things like that. But the amount that you'd have to have, it was like a ridiculous amount of these. Like, and it's usually energy drink.
I actually looked this up because I think the example that got used was Diet Coke. And again, because it was to do with aspartame, right? Yes. But aspartame, I really should have looked this up separately, gets broken down into like 3 different compounds in your body. And those compounds are also present in tomatoes, meat, and like eggs as well.
Yeah, I've seen this actually.
I can't remember the names of the compounds now, but I was like, you're not going to tell people to stop eating those things because it's going to give you cancer. That's essentially what it is.
Pretty sure they're actually higher levels in those foods as well.
Yeah, very much so. And it's like, what, you're going to start telling everyone to stop eating tomatoes? Probably not. But no, the amount, because again, it's kind of like the dose makes the poison argument.
Yeah, exactly.
And for the aspartame in Diet Coke to give you serious health problems, you would have to have 1,400 cans a day.
I was going to say, before, like, I'm pretty sure it's like over 1,000 like energy drinks or whatever a day for it to actually cause issues.
Yeah.
I mean, the caffeine alone would probably kill you.
I was going to say, the caffeine would make your heart explode before the aspartame was a problem. But I'm like, I mean, I don't want anybody to try this, but I'd be pretty impressed if somebody drank 1,400 cans of Diet Coke in a day.
Imagine the rush.
I don't know if again, I was like, your stomach probably can't even hold that much liquid either. It's like no, it's physically, I believe it's like physically impossible for you to be able to do that.
It'd be impressive to see it happen. I'd pay money to see that happen.
Yeah. So like, people are just like, it's so bad for you, blah, blah, blah. And then there's a whole argument of saying that it spikes like an insulin response as well, which then makes you gain fat. Yeah. But they don't contain any calories. So it's biologically impossible for you to put that on because your body cannot metabolize something that doesn't exist. So I was like, I don't know where you get this argument from. I really don't know where it comes from. Because your body's response doesn't work like that.
I think people just saw that, like, those studies where it says, like, these ingredients can cause these sort of health issues. They don't look into then the numbers behind it of what levels you'd actually have to consume for it to cause a problem. Yeah. And then they just go with that narrative that energy drinks are bad, Diet Cokes are bad, and at the end of the day, it's really...
Yeah, and the studies...
like, you're going to be okay.
The studies that showed that there was a problem, but were all done on rodents as well. They weren't actually done on humans. And then the studies that then subsequently got done on humans showed that there was no response, there was no problems. And again, it was the dose that you'd be like, right, you'd have to drink a stupid amount for it to actually be a problem. It's the same with like, so there's cyanide in apples. But you're not going to tell someone to stop eating apples, are you? Like, because they're not. And again, I looked up how many apples you'd have to have. But the cyanide's in the apples. The cyanide's in the apple seeds. Okay, So you'd have to have, it was
Okay.
somewhere between 150 and several thousand crushed seeds for you to...
Who's eating apple seeds in the first
Exactly. Psychos.
place? Yeah.
But yeah, again, I was like, I think it's present in like pears and grapes as well. But again, it's in the thousands that you'd have to eat for you to get cyanide poisoning.
Yeah, it's like anything in moderation is going to be absolutely fine.
Yeah.
And like say, if you're eating thousands of apple seeds in one sitting, then I'd question that more than
Like,
the actual health impacts of cyanide.
Are you okay? Do you need some help? Shall I call a therapist? Like
where'd you get all those apple seeds?
there's just chunks of apple in a box somewhere they've not eaten. It's taken the seeds out.
We're just raiding like a vegetable market just for like apple seeds, like bags and bags of apple seeds.
Like a juice bar. We're like, can I have your leftover apple seeds, please? Don't throw them away. I need them.
No. Yeah, what a way to go that would be. Jeez.
Yeah, again, I'd be I'd be very impressed. The effort you would have to go to for that.
It's not just that though as well. Have you ever actually like accidentally ate an apple seed when you're eating an
Horrible.
apple? It is
Yeah,
it's minging.
it's gross.
There's no enjoyment in that.
No. Oh dear.
Yeah. But then there's the flip side, isn't there, of the detoxes and the detoxes, I think.
Yeah.
I think they've died off a little bit now, I think, because everyone sort of realises what they're actually doing.
I haven't seen them.
You don't see as much of it anymore.
I haven't seen, even especially like, because sometimes you see a big influx in like January. I think even this year I didn't notice as bigger of an influx in like adverts.
I didn't see any, to be fair.
Um,
It's usually like Love Island as well. All those
Yeah.
like, get on it, and not that I watch it, I just
I can't.
see it, all the hate.
yeah.
I don't watch any of that reality TV,
No.
to be honest. I can't stand it.
I can't either.
Bunch of nobodies.
I'm like, I've got no interest.
Sat in
I feel
the
like
middle.
I don't have enough interest in other people's lives. I'm like,
No, that's the thing I don't get. Like, people get so obsessed with it. I see, like, Instagram stories, tweets, and they're like, oh my god, I can't believe so-and-so did that. I'm like, why do you care? You didn't know them 2 weeks ago.
No, exactly. I'm like, I
they're
could easily
just randoms off the
walk
street.
past them in the middle of the street and I have no idea who they are. Like, genuinely, not a clue. Like, people say names to
not
me
a
and I'm like,
chance.
oh, is that one of your friends? They're like,
Yeah.
no. How do you not know who that person is? And I'm like, because
I'm glad we're on the same page on this
I'm
one.
like, I go out and see my actual friends. That's what I do.
Yeah.
The people that I know.
Oh, I've got mates that used to go in for 9 o'clock to watch it
Really?
because they didn't want to watch it on like +1.
What they'd like
because
if you're out
they'd
at the
see it on
pub
Twitter, what
or
happened.
something, they'd be like, oh, I've got to go home.
I can't remember what we were doing. It might have been like in the summer or something. And like we'd go out in the day or something. They'd be like, "Oh, gotta be home at 9. Love that." I'm like, "What?"
That's really sad.
I was like, I thought it was just like girls that watch Love Island, but it's like there's a whole load of lads that are getting on it now.
Oh dear, they need to get.
Yeah, it's a shame.
They need to get a life.
It is a shame. Yeah, it is a shame.
I feel like
Revolving your life around a 9 p.m.
yeah,
show
I'm
that
like, you could just
makes no impact on your
no,
life.
it doesn't. No. I'm like, all you're doing is watching
anyway.
them like around a pool all day. Like it's not even like if it was like a, I don't know, like a challenge or like like Ninja Warrior or something like that. I'd be like, I can kind of get behind it because it's almost like a bit of a sport as such. I can get behind that, but no,
No, not at all. But going back to the detoxes and the booties, don't touch them.
it's not worth it.
All they're gonna do is make you sit on the toilet. Quite a lot
of them have just got a lot of laxatives in them.
Laxatives, diuretics, again, flush your water out your system, make you dehydrated, make you feel like crap.
Yeah.
And
So like
quite a lot of them have heavy metals in them as well.
Yeah.
That are really dangerous. I've seen videos where someone's got the powder and put a magnet over the top of it.
Oh really?
And you could literally pull like iron filings and like metal filings out of this powder. Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this must have been several years ago, but I think it made its way around social media as well. But somebody had invented this like fake weight loss tea thing and was like marketing it, and they tried to get a couple of people from like Love Island to be like, hey, we're going to pay you this amount of money, can you just say that you've had this and it's really good. Half of them don't try it, they don't read anything about it, and it actually contained ingredients that they used in the gas chambers in Auschwitz, and they didn't have any idea.
Wow.
They didn't know what any of the words meant. They didn't look them up. They were just like, yeah, just tell me how much you're going to pay me. And you're like, they're not actually concerned about people's health. They just want to get paid.
I mean, I kind of understand because I've listened to. Do you remember that? I don't know if you watched it. Remember Duran Cartel got Holly Hagan from Geordie Shore on? And basically, because he'd outed her on Instagram about posting all these teas. Yeah. And she turned around and said, from our side of things, we obviously didn't know the health impacts of these drinks and what they potentially were going to do to people. We were also not getting paid that much at the time because Geordie Shore wasn't massive, but it was big enough for them to get like sponsorships and stuff like that. She was like, I needed money, and they were offering me X amount of £1,000 to post on Instagram that I'd had this tea. Obviously, they were going to take it, sort of thing, because they needed to get paid at the end of the day. And so I kind of understand from their side of things, because they're not necessarily going to be an expert of what's in these things. Yeah. They're just going to see, right, I need to get paid this month. I've not had any sponsorship deals. They're offering me 50 grand to put a couple of posts up. It's just, you're going to take the 50.
It's silly amounts of money. But I mean, I don't know. I think I would always like ask what's in stuff as well. But again, I was like, because I work in health and like actually want to help people, I'll be like, what is actually in this?
Well, that's the thing. It's different experiences, isn't it? If you're just a social media influencer that's been on Love Island, you might not have any idea. It's just we're seeing things through a different like, I think viewpoint.
That because I did watch that episode with Holly Hagan, and it was really, really good. I really, really liked it. Obviously, that was a long time ago as well when they did those promotions initially. But obviously, since then, even like a couple of years ago, people are a lot more aware of these products that are floating around, and like there was those, what was it, I think was it Kim Kardashian did something with like a appetite suppressant lollipop or something.
I didn't see that one.
God, Google that one after.
Wow, I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, it was like, these lollipops will suppress your appetite, and I was like, what on earth? Like, they just come up with anything.
Thanks very much for watching part 2 of the podcast. If you'd like to see part 3, click right here. If you're new, subscribe, and if you enjoyed it, drop a like below. Thank you.